The first thing I want to ask you was, how did you feel about us getting Magic? You know, when that went down, because we had word of it before the public had word of it.
For me, Cap, you know, it didn't bother me. If somebody wasn't coming in like you 7-2, that was going to come in average 38 points and 20 rebounds and 5 block shots, you really didn't think they would have such a big impact. We knew we were like 1 or 2 players away from having like a really good team. For me, it was exciting having some young guys come into the backcourt. So, you know, to have Magic come in and to have Coop come in at the same time, I was just happy to be playing with some guys that could run with me. You know, you guys covered everything else from a front line perspective. So I was excited to have another young guy that could come in and play.
I didn't know if all of that would work with Jamaal, because Jamaal was used to getting a lot of shots. And some of them were not really shot.
Hey, look, Cap, we talk about Silk. That was the best pair of hands in basketball. So Jamaal, you know, I had all those small forwards talking to me like, man, we wish we had Jamaal's job just to run the court. But he could get up and down and could catch any pass. Could catch any pass. And then not only that, Cap, could get it up with 2 hands. That's what amazed me about Silk. He could be on the basket and lean back and have 2 hands on the ball.
Well, you know, he snuck his left hand back there early on.
Ugly left hand
back there. And then
that little curl coming across the middle, the shot was so ugly, people just say he can't make that shot. And he always surprised him. But the other thing, too, about you and Silk that was so amazing, and I say this all the time, and it's going to be a very specific basketball thing. You know, you would hit you and go back door. You would fake the first pass and catch him with the second pass on the other side of the court, which is a small thing, but it was a big thing, and you guys had that down to a science. So, if anything, I think Silk benefited from having both of us, because now he's getting easier shots and still average 20 points.
The fundamentals we got drilled into us at UCLA.
Oh, there is no question about it. The bank shots.
We had Brad Holland.
Brad, jump shooter,
and
play big in those championship games.
Had his pro career high in that game
that you didn't play in.
6. Yeah.
Old Potsy. That was a fun year learning how to play together. And for me, getting drafted coming here, you know, I didn't want to come out to Los Angeles. You know, I was from Georgia. I wanted to play in Atlanta, New York, and I just thought Boston was going to draft me because I worked Red Auerbach's camp, and they took me out of the college league and they put me in with the pros, and I was a little surprised that they didn't draft me. Then I'm like, oh man, I'm going as far away from home as I could get coming out to Los Angeles. But then walking in the gym, you know, seeing you and Lou Hudson, you know, I was like, oh my goodness, you know, my rookie year. But then you go mess it up the first game and break your hand, and I go, what am I going to do? What are we going to do now?
I screwed everything up because I couldn't keep my temper.
Yeah, and then when you came back, Kermit went out. So we had my rookie year was an interesting year for me. It was my introduction to the NBA.
You know, I'm glad we put that behind us.
Yeah.
You know, we got all those learning moments. We put them behind us and started playing the game, and that made a big difference. You know, dealing with Spencer. You know, that was not fun. You know, I'd known Spencer a long time by that point, you know, for my rookie year, you know, and to see him fall to pieces just as we getting ready to start the playoffs.
Yeah, man.
That was like, oh no, come on, man. I'm gonna be out there by myself again, you know,
with a bunch of young guys
that don't have one idea, and now they're gonna fall apart. You know, the injury, you couldn't do nothing, but that shit Spencer was doing, that shit was gonna be fatal.
Yeah, and he got suspended for that, and and he had played well up until that point. He was a big piece of us getting to where we had gotten. You know,
absolutely. Game 6, we had enough of it come together for that one game that took the championship. Philadelphia really didn't have a chance because they didn't understand how we were going to be coming at them. And they didn't know that Magic had played forward most of his career.
Right.
He was guard handling power forward. And that took everybody by surprise and really made it impossible for them to make the team adjustment that they had to make.
And it was too late.
Final game.
I think they underestimated us too. But the other thing was Jim played well. Jim Jones played well.
Jim Jones came off,
he
real good.
He played big in that game. I mean, I think I was the only one that had a subpar game. Again, I got hurt the same game you got, but nobody paid me any attention. Remember, I tore my finger up in that game. So I was in a cast in that championship game. I played with one hand. And I was just happy we pulled it off, because I think if we had played another game, I might not have played either. Game 7, which was detrimental too.
Yeah, we lost Spencer, but you should have seen me in my room, me and Cheryl, screaming on one foot, hopping around my bedroom on one foot, screaming at the TV, and you guys didn't let me down, man. You guys were amazing.
Yeah, man, that was hey, that was my first championship, and I tell you, it was exciting, and then the way we played too, the style of play. I mean, you had some young guys where you could rest, like people can talk as much as they want to. As soon as we got to half court, you know what that meant? It's up, it's up, baby. So it was great, man, and winning that championship and beating them on that court too, was just exceptional.
When you don't expect to win, no one expects you to win, and you go out there and the other team is like mystified as to how to play you.
Right.
I could tell they didn't know, well, who's going to guard who. That was the first thing. And they had Daryl Dawkins out there, didn't he? He couldn't figure anything.
Might have been on the team. Yeah.
He couldn't figure anything out. Defensively.
I know. And they couldn't match up with us, because the one thing about the team we had was once you sat down, we even played faster because Jim Brewer would come in games and we just ran. Something we couldn't do for 48 minutes and 82 games, but on a 6 and 7 minute stretch, we could put it down with some speed until you got your rest to get back out on the court. So I think that threw them for a loop too, because we were used to playing with a small lineup some at points and times in the game. So they didn't know how to really, like you say, match up with us at that particular time with the little team out there. And we were used, and all of us played, pretty big for our size. Magic played big, Coop played big, Silk played big. So, and Jim Brewer was just a guy that got rebounds as fast as guards. So he really created a mismatch for a lot of the bigger guys just in transition and with his speed.
They didn't have any idea of how to get the matchups to work.
Yep.
Every matchup, they were at a disadvantage for some reason.
Because they were a fast team too. We were just faster when we were smaller. And maybe if they had tried to stop running, it had slowed the game down and tried to
and worked it
different strategy. But that wasn't their style. They were a running team just like we were. Then the next year we get upset. That hurt.
But sometimes there's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
And to come up short, it just gave me an incentive to do it better the next time.
What was it like for you playing with all these young guys? You had a bunch of kids running around you. I was 23, 24, Magic 23, Cooper 23. Silk was really young too. He's about 27, 28 at that time.
Yeah.
So the stable, the main part of the team outside of you and Silk, we were all like kids, man.
Well, you guys might have been kids, but I tell you, the basketball fundamentals of the guys on that team was pretty complete.
Yep.
Okay, you got me and Jamaal played in the same system. Brad Holland played in that system. Then, you know, what Magic learned up there at Michigan State, you know, that, hey, he got a very sound, the fundamentals of the pass and the pick and roll, and you know what he brought to the game, getting it off the backboard, going from being a number 4 really to a number 1. It blew up their matchups system. How do we get the right people to the right guy? Then if they got somebody big on them, Magic went right past them. He was like, goodbye.
Yep.
They were in his rearview mirror. That overwhelmed people for at least the first 3 or 4 years of his career.
I can remember playing up in Portland, and to your point, there was one point where Kermit was guarding Magic because Coop was in the game, Sip was in the game, I was in the game. And in transition, we called a play and we flipped Magic up the point. So Kermit had to go guard him away from the bucket. So that was the great thing about our team, because guys could change position and guys knew the plays from multiple positions, whether they were like the most effective in all those. You know, Cooper could run 2, 3, 4, Silk could run 2, 3, 4, Magic 1, 2, 3, 4. I could run 1 and 2. I knew everybody's position, but I could play 1 and 2, and I knew what I had to do. So it wasn't like it threw us off. So we could change in transition and put Coop at point. I could go to point. Magic could go to point. Magic go to 4. You can go to 3. Cooper go to 2. Go to 3. And we didn't have to really think, oh, what am I supposed to do from 2? What am I supposed to do from 3 position? You know, guys could change.
There was always guys like Billy Thompson.
I didn't get to play with Billy, but
you didn't get to play with Billy?
No.
I'm sorry.
I figured that's where you're going. I definitely played with guys like that. I played with a couple of guys where you're 60 games into the season and you know you have 2 out of bounds plays or 3 out of bounds play. You still tell them what position to get in. Man, get over here. Man, get over here. When I left you guys, I was in the situation with Clippers playing with guys. It's like, man, we 70 games in the season. You don't know the 2 out of bounds play. Man,
you still don't know the plays. Oh my, yeah.
Yeah, that drove me crazy. But yeah, that was a great thing about the teams I was on with you guys at the Lakers. You know,
everybody seemed to have a fundamental understanding of what they should be doing.
Exactly.
The first day they stepped on the court.
Exactly. And that's what made Showtime. That's what made us what we were. He had a bunch of guys with high basketball IQs, and you know, we were serious players. You know, guys got in shape, guys took the game serious. Like, you know, you watch that winning times, it's like, it's buffoonery. It's like, you can't be a championship team with guys that are not pretty smart. You know, I mean, I can only judge by our teams. I didn't win with no other teams. I mean, you won with two teams, but you don't win championships. You don't have guys that can think.
I was at the Allstar game. I saw you out there wearing your Clippers.
Yeah.
Stuff to the All-Star game. I said, Jesus, it's been a long time.
Yeah.
It's been a long time.
Yeah. Made the All-Star team with those teams. That was tough.
That's a testimony to what you bring to the game. So, you know.
Appreciate that.
You can take your bow on that. You deserve that.
I will too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but what about that time? There was some magazine had a fashion fair that you guys was hip to, man. The Ebony Fashion Fair.
Yeah. You know, we used to run into them all over the place.
Well, guys, we went on a road trip, and they were like in 2 or 3 of the hotels that we stayed at. I was wondering about that.
Yeah, they showed up. I mean, the biggest one I remember was in Atlanta, because they all wanted me to go hang out, but I'm from Georgia. So I chose to go hang out with my mother. They couldn't understand that. I'm like, look, I don't see my mom. You guys have fun. I'm going to Macon. I went to Macon on one of those trips. Yeah, we used to run into them, and we ran into them like a couple of times on the road. That's who Kenny Carr ended up marrying. You remember Kenny Carr married? His girl was a fashion fair model. Kenny Carr.
Oh.
Yep.
Well.
So
what have you here?
Yeah, Kenny's wife. And you know, Kenny got out of here about 4 years. They up in Portland. He's doing well. But yeah, Kenny married her. Yeah, yeah. Kenny married the girl he met on that trip. I can remember being in San Antonio a lot of times. In the middle of the day, we would all go to the movies. Me and all the guys, we just go out to practice, take the vans, have the whole movie theater talking to the screens and sitting around. But it was some good times.
Our movie trips were fun. It made for some interesting dialogue on the court. I remember Pat Riley was the coach of the All-Star team. Marvin Gaye sings the national anthem. Just turned the place out, right? So we played a whole game. Pat Riley doesn't let George Gervin in the game. It's like less than 3 minutes left in the game when Pat Riley puts George Gervin in the game. And I was like, oh man, why you insult the brother like that, you know?
I remember watching that.
He finally puts him in there. There was like 2 minutes left in the game. We played San Antonio in LA, the very first game after the All-Star game.
How many points did he have?
George gave us 47 of 48, somewhere in the 40s or low 50s. It was, George served us up. I think Pat realized what he had done, but it was too late.
But that was right. He knew exactly what he was doing when he was coaching the team.
Yeah. But he's going to go out there at the All-Star game and forget everything.
No, I won the first two with you guys. You guys won three more. I'm fortunate I didn't get the win in Boston. You know, that's the one thing I missed. I missed having the opportunity to go win in Boston Gardens. And I know for you, that must have been like
very special.
In the back-to-back. Yeah. Especially after being around, because you were around when those guys, a little bit when they were just dominating the league. You know, and so I know that must have been a great feeling for you.
I can't explain it, man. It's, you know, because when we won it in 87, it was in LA. But to be there in 85 and have all that hostility focused on you and to be able to go out there and hold up your finger as number one, that is the most wonderful feeling I've had.
In the Garden.
Yeah.
In the Garden, too.
In the Garden, in Boston Garden, that was really a great feeling. I can't, it's hard to describe, you know, it's just that's special.
And one of the things I always remember, Bill Russell called the games a lot when we played against Phil. I think maybe both times we played, but he was a really big fan of our teams. I had a really good relationship with him. And this is speaking of Boston, so that was a big loss. But Bill really loved our team. He used to tell me that all the time. He loved the way we played. He loved our team.
It's really funny. I was a big fan of his team when I was in high school. And I used to go see him play in doubleheaders. They would have doubleheaders at Madison Square Garden. And Boston would play like St. Louis or, you know, one of the really good teams from the Western Conference. And that was a real special moment, you know, being able to see that. I saw some very special games at Madison Square Garden. College game. Princeton versus Michigan, 1965. 64, the Holiday Festival. Bill Bradley got 48 points and fouled out with 2 minutes left. And Cazzie took over the game in those 2 minutes. And Michigan won it by like 3 or 4 points. But it was just an incredible game with two of the best ever.
And in my young career, you know, Cazzie was on the team my first year. I don't know if he went to start the season with us, but he was in training camp with us. And I had a chance to spend some time with him. He was a funny guy.
Cazzie was, hilarious.
He was a funny guy. I enjoyed spending time. For me, coming in with those guys, I was a young guy and I was a starter. So it was Lou Hudson and Ron Boone and Cazzie and those guys. I spent time talking to those guys a lot my first year. And actually Ernie D as well. Ernie was one that stayed in my ear all the time. always boosting my confidence because you know how Jerry was on me. He was like, "Don't worry about it, Norm. You can play. Don't worry about it. Keep playing your game." So I always reach out to him when I go up to Providence because he was one of the guys that stayed in my ear about that.
I was just up there a month ago
in Providence
at the casino.
Yeah. He worked at one of those casinos for a while.
Yeah. He worked. We went to the other one.
Mohegan Sun.
The other.
Yeah.
Not Mohegan Sun, but the other one.
Yeah. Which makes me always think about Randy Smith, because Randy worked at the casinos up there, man. That was an athlete right there.
I remember one time Randy made a steal at half court, and I was back. I had thrown the ball out. There was a steal. They hit Randy at half court. I'm at our free throw line, and Randy faked. Now he was out by half court. He faked, and I turned to get back under the hoop,
dunking it.
And when I tried to take my second step, all I got to see was Randy's feet going past my face as he dunked.
He was an athlete, man.
Oh my goodness. I said, I will avoid that. I had two episodes like that, one with Randy and when I was a rookie, I tried to block Dave Bing's layup.
Ooh.
I shouldn't have done that. Nick, I
Dave
shouldn't have
got you.
I really shouldn't have done that, but that's how you learn.
I tell you what, so this is my Dave Bing story, and I told him about that too. This was when I was with the Lakers. We were in Boston. This was at the tail end of his career, and he came off the bench, and coming from Georgia and playing in Pittsburgh, you didn't see the NBA. Pittsburgh, they didn't show it. In Georgia, we only saw Atlanta. So I didn't know who Dave Bing was. So we playing in Boston, and I'm guarding him, and he's dribbling past the top of the key. And like this, boom, his feet were in my face. I'm like, whoa. And he made the shot, like all up over me, elbows on top of my head. So we come down court. He did it again. They took him out the game. I'm like, who the hell is this? So I checked the jersey out. It was Dave Bing, man. And I said, I am so glad I didn't have to play against this guy when he was young. Yeah. I was like, I'm happy.
Yeah, there was some dudes.
There
was some dudes that got by without getting the notice that they should have gotten.
He might be one. I tell you, man. He made two shots on me, man, and they were memorable because when he took off, he jumped and his feet were in my face so fast, and he made two shots and they took him out of the game. And I turned to just see his jersey to see who he was, and I was like, man, I'm glad I didn't have to play against this guy when he was young, because they didn't play him that much at that time. I'm like, woof, I'm glad he's out of here.
Yeah, there was some guys that were legendary and really didn't get a chance to be recognized.
Yeah,
see a lot of that.
Yeah, but now you saw a lot. I mean, you're about 9-10 years old enough, so your experiences on and off the court was just
it was a lot different.
It was a lot different, man. A lot different.
And what was like important was like people like Paul Silas and Oscar, what they did politically, enabling us to get.
I never read much about Paul Silas. Paul Silas too?
Free agency. We wouldn't have had free agency if it wasn't for those guys.
I knew Oscar, but I didn't know Paul was a part of that.
Yeah, Paul was part of it. And they made sure that the owners didn't get it so that they could still take it to us, that the 51-49 split really was something that they fought for.
Right.
And if it wasn't for that, you wouldn't see guys getting these ridiculous salaries.
Yeah.
They would be able to maintain the secrecy that they were, so that we didn't know how much money was actually in the pot.
And like I tell people, it's always define gross revenues.
Yes.
Find it the way that they want it to.
Right.
Radio money wasn't in it. Parking money wasn't in it. Local television money wasn't in it.
None of that. And they're like, well, what are you guys talking about? But it was Paul and those guys that did all the research and came out there talking the right talk. They weren't all emotional and shit. They were just focused. And
well, in our era, I was a part of the union too. When we got into the defined gross revenues, there was so much money they left out. So we had forensic accountants go in there to say, hey, what about, like I say, they didn't put in local television money, local radio money.
Yeah.
That wasn't part of gross revenues. Like, how can the television money not be part of it? So that was all. And unfortunate for all of us, we never had a chance to really be free agents. So there was no such thing as free agency when we was there. You know, all that refusal stuff with BS, you know. And I remember when Magic signed that first contract, like, we thought it was the biggest $1 million for 20 years in a row. We're like, oh man, that's a lot of money. But Bus just bought an annuity. He's pretty sharp. Bus was sharp. You know, he knew the magic with the numbers.
And Dr. Bus understood how to market the game.
Yep.
Old group of owners dealt with their ownership. It was like it might as well have been like it was. They're playing gin rummy or something.
Right.
You know, basketball in their mind was a secondhand sport, not understanding that the game appealed to people who wanted to see an exciting game that had a lot of scoring and great athletic plays. You don't see that in any other sport. You know, the number of like awesome athletic plays that you see, you don't see that in other sports. The volume of it. I'm not knocking anybody. You know, I've seen some incredible guys in the NFL, et cetera. But basketball really enables you to catch that raw athletic talent that make you go, wow. You know,
that's when you start naming the players. Like, you know, you look at Doc, the stuff he did out there.
Doc,
you know?
Michael. Yeah, people that you just come off with one name, you know.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, Stephen Curry just decided one step over the half court. That's fine. Whop.
Amazing. I mean,
oh my goodness.
Amazing. He's amazing. He is.
No,
he is amazing. We
gotta give Dell Curry some credit for schooling him the right way.
Yep.
Kobe got schooled in ways that a lot of us wish we had gotten schooled. I'm thankful just that I was able to watch Bill Russell.
Mm-hmm.
No, he didn't coach me, but I watched him, because they had doubleheaders at Madison Square Garden.
Uh-huh.
So I was going to high school at the time. I made sure I caught Bill Russell every time he played in the Garden. And I saw him dominate the game from the defensive end of the court. You can learn from that, if you know what to watch for. And my high school coach said, look, you just watch Bill Russell, you try to catch anybody going to the hoop, they're going to have to go through you, and you're going to have to make them change their shot.
Well, the other thing,
I just started out trying to make people change. I wasn't trying to, block everything.
Yeah,
it evolved that way.
What other thing? Well, 2 points I was going. Number one, the athletic ability of those guys. Those guys ran track. He and Will both. 400 meters and high jumped and world-class athletes. What the other part is the work ethic. And what I was going to say to you, even, come in, if there was anybody that could have taken advantage of the rules, it would have been you. And what I say is you practice every day. You put in the work. Yeah. I mean, we used to have to tell you, Cap, sit your ass down, man. We got it, man. We got to play tomorrow. We need you to play. Get your old ass and sit down. We got to play tomorrow. We don't need to be practicing. Let us practice. I don't know if you remember that. We used to tell you, man, come on, Cap, go sit down, man. We got it. But you never miss practice. When I got traded, I played with guys. The fingernail was chipped. They missed 3 days. And I'm saying, I'm playing with arguably the greatest player who never missed practice hurt, and you guys can't even, I didn't go at him like you can't even play. I'm like, how do we come to practice and you guys are not practicing? So the work ethic. So what comes with greatness is always a mentality and the work ethic that goes along with it. Because if you don't have that, I don't care how much talent. We've all seen great talented guys that, and some of them had long careers, but most of the time careers are shortened, the injuries, all the stuff. The way you took care of yourself back in the day, I think you and I were the only two that ever took yoga. I did it because I took it in college and I understood it. And then I ended up marrying a dancer. So, I really understood the value of stretching and the value of eating and taking care of myself. And I think
I really got into that because of my relationship with Bruce Lee.
Okay. Yeah.
Because he was saying, what are you eating? I was like, yeah. He said, that's your fuel. You want jet fuel. You don't want blimp fuel. You want jet fuel. And
what did he have you eating? What did he tell? What was his advice to you? Eat well, but was there?
Just make sure that your dietary foundation was sound. So that's when I started. Carbohydrates, the right meats, poultry, fish. Stay away from stuff that's going to kill you. I remember I saw Willie Stargell, man, at a card show, and he was ordering like a rib sandwich and stuff, man. Just the stuff that some people put in their engine ends up killing them. You can't do that. You got to really be conscious and understand that all of these things end up to better performance.
Exactly.
I think LeBron did just an awesome job.
He does. Look,
in terms of his training regimen.
Well, and that's what I said. I mean, definitely has the money, but to be wise enough to spend $1 million a year to have your trainers, your chef, your Pilates guy, your stretching guy, your masseuse, because the numbers he put up. Like I say, he put up some amazing numbers at this stage, Cap, because after 8-9 years, you're hurting. This guy's like 17, 18 years into it and still putting up numbers and playing a lot of games. So that's amazing. That's amazing. So, but yeah. But it's it's interesting, watching the game. I still watch the game. I still like watching the guys play, and I'm always laughing when they go and say, your teams come play now. And, my daughter just got married, by the way. And
congratulations, man.
Yeah. Thank you. Vivian just got married. But her brother-in-law was sitting down talking to me like, man, Bill Russell couldn't play now. I said, man, get out of my house.
Oh my God.
I said, man, somebody get him out of my house.
Send him over to my crib, man. I'll talk to him,
Yeah, I told him, I called a couple of people. I said, listen to this guy, man. I think, who did I catch on the phone? I called Coop. I called somebody else. I'm like, listen to this guy. LeBron, the best player to ever play. I said, I don't take nothing from LeBron. I know what he's talking about.
These dudes crying. They'd be crying on the court. I can't shoot. Why won't he let me shoot? They'd be really surprised about that, man.
I tell them, I said, they say, what would you do if you played these guys? I said, I walk the ball up court. I slow the ball down. I give it to Kareem every time. He might go 50 for 50 with Green guarding. Come on. I'm like, this guy is one of the best centers in the league right now at 6'5". I said, come on, man. That wouldn't happen in our era. It wouldn't happen.
Some people just refuse to see the truth, man.
Well, let's get it together. Let's get together soon, though. I'll get Lou and all them. Whenever you feel like a nice little meal and sit down and do nothing, because I'm not gonna do nothing but sit in the backyard and salmon and some salad and.
Yeah. Well, I know you guys know what's up.
For more episodes, visit Kareem.substack.com. And be sure to watch Legacy, the true story of the LA Lakers, only on Hulu.